trying to be all Daft Punk, but just got the Daft right, I think. Not the punk.
I never was told to do anything in this way. Never.
Mhm.
I was just told, boss, go express yourself, right? कभी स्कूल की तरह
Yeah.
नहीं ट्रीट किया गया कि यही करना है.
Topic specifically, I just wanted to have like a POV on. You both have been in the industry for quite some time. You both have mentored and been mentored over the course of your time in the industry, from what I understand. And I just wanted to, and I think after a while, you kind of get uh, used to the stress that comes with it, and also find your ways to cope with it. And I feel that there are so many people who reach out to me specifically on my DMs, talking about how difficult it is for them to deal with the stress. And the whole idea of I keep shouting about work life balance, but what does it really mean? Because a lot of people have also been I've been facing a lot of flack, because people are like, you just come from a privileged point of view, and you were like, leave this job, it's not working out for you, and all of that. I'm like, I'm anything but a privileged point of view, because I've also gone through it. But the whole idea is that I just don't think of it as a distant reality, that if you have to succeed, you have to, like, give up yourself completely. And I just wanted to understand from people who've been there, and obviously also have different point of views on how do you deal with it. So this particular podcast, this particular episode is, I've obviously named it Corporate Potluck. So instead of coming together with our dahi and chawal, we thought we'll have come together with our kind of mental health strategies. How do we deal with it? And I'm not looking at some sort of uh, epiphany statement saying that, you just meditate and a third eye will open and you will just find yourself in like a great place. Nothing of that sort. But more in terms of what are the kind of steps that you take. And I wanted it to come from a place of authenticity. That is why you both, so that it seems like it's reachable, it's possible. And what are the things you can navigate with, the honesty of it, and the things you can't. Because agency, I feel, Shantesh, and this was one discussion I was having with someone else the other day, that you keep talking about changing the way you work, but are agency setups actually equipped with the kind of tools and resources for you to actually make that change?
Yeah.
Is there any sort of a resource setup that way? Because if you are in the agency, काम आ रहा है, तो you have to do it. अब वो आप कैसे उससे navigate करोगे? आप नहीं करोगे तो निकाल दिया जाओगे, कोई और आ जाएगा जो कर ले, है ना?
Right.
So things like that. But before we delve deep into it, I just wanted you both to just give short introductions. Not that people don't know you, but just to just to put yourself out there for people to know what you have done, where are you from. So any of you can start off, and then we'll start off with a proper discussion. And before we begin, thank you so much for being here as guests.
Okay, so very quickly about me. My name is Ashish Kharwatkar. I've spent a little less time than Shantesh in the industry, only 24 years. And 21 plus years I spent in all sorts of agencies, most of them in India, one in Sri Lanka. Then I got laid off right in the middle of the pandemic. I spoke about it. Then I went freelance, and finally last month I've started my own agency. I've just launched it, fun intended. And besides that, like Shantesh, I also conduct one copywriting course. I mean, I've just started, just done a few sessions, but yeah, that's my journey so far, and hoping to grow both of these practices forward. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yep.
That's
So,
a
hi, Shanti. Nobody calls me Shantesh, not even my mom. Yeah, not much of a difference between me and Ashish. Yeah, just maybe a year here or there. I think we're almost the same vintage. And two bottles of wine is better than one bottle of wine. So, yeah,
Amen.
been traipsing down the advertising path for too long now. I think it's way too long. It's time to go. Like things are telling me around. The universe is conspiring to tell me that bus ho gaya hai. Bus ho gaya. So, but I'm still giving it that last shot. Like Shah Rukh Khan is still doing it, and he's come back after 6 years. So you always say, okay, if he can go from zero to Jawan, I can also go from zero to Jawan in 6 years, right?
Yeah,
So
with
hopefully,
open arm.
Absolutely.
yeah. So exactly. So you just keep your arms open and let the world give you what it gives you. But yeah, I've been talking to a lot of young writers over the last 2 years, especially to LinkedIn. And apart from the workshops where I charge people decent amount of money, I'm not joking, but I've done a hell of a lot of free stuff because I really think it's important to speak to younger writers, and it's a super confused fucking world out there. And I empathize with each of them, but I have only 24 hours in a day, so it gets to me. But yeah, we'll talk more about this as we go along. So yeah, and I am a
That's
copies
lovely.
writer. I'm a copies writer.
Copies writer. You're a
Yes, I am a
copies
copies.
writer and
Yes,
former LinkedIn
I have a copies.
influencer also here,
No,
no?
copies writer, copies writer. Just that. I like writing a copies and the copies. Okay, so
That's so amazing. So glad to have you both. And I am wow, in awe of how much time you've spent in the agency life. I could only barely manage 11 years, and
exactly.
then I was like, I just can't. And I just wanted to start off with that also. Do you feel that over the years, and I'm sure the kind of young talent that you've dealt with way back then and now has changed, their attitude has changed, their aspiration, their motives to join advertising industry has changed. What kind of and I also feel, and this is something guys are keep talking about, that how the employer-employee dynamics is changing now, right? Decorum to be maintained, with the employer, which is kind of the lines are blurring now. A lot of
Hmm.
agencies do this whole of like, we are no hierarchy sort of a setup. What do you guys think about that? Do you think it's actually helping people, voice themselves better, or do you feel that this is something that is, uh, just for the sake of it, for the for the cool factor to add in agencies?
I think, yeah, that cool factor is fine, but I think the issue is it's a little larger. If I may say so myself, I mean, I don't want to talk on behalf of Shantesh here, but see, my generation had one thing: we had clarity, right? We were clear about what we are signing up for. We were clear about who we are signing up with, right? Like if you look at the hiring process itself, right? If you look now, it's I think probably different. But in my time, it was about you had to know about creative directors that you like. You had to know about which agencies they work at. You knew something or the other about that agency's culture, right? So
Yeah.
you signed up knowing what you're signing up for to begin with, right? See, like if I look at my own experience in the first few years, it's like walking through a fog, right? You have no idea what you're doing and whether you're sitting or standing or what are you supposed to do, like, and all of these things become very confusing because why are my ideas getting rejected? Why am I not making a headway? Why is my boss being like that to me, right? But there was simple clarity that you are either learning or you're earning, right? So if you join an organization, if you are learning, it's fine. Your focus is all about your work, right? Am I improving? Am I doing better at this agency or not? We were very very sensitive about our portfolios, right? We used to spend an unbelievable amount of time and effort and energy and sometimes money, right, to make sure that our portfolios are in shape, right? So
Correct.
there was that little clarity, right? Now everything used to stem from that clarity, right? So like I when I speak to some young people, what I see is uh, they will call anything toxic. You need to
Yeah.
understand what is toxic, what is not toxic really, right? Like for example, our job as advertising professionals, whatever your job is, whether you're a writer, art person, even account management strategist, these jobs are very time consuming. They demand time, they demand certain level of finesse, right? So if you can achieve it within a couple of hours, great, you'll be home at 6, right? But that doesn't always happen, right? But
Right.
the thing is, just looking at the amount of time you spend in office doesn't mean that place is toxic, right? Same way, just because your senior scolded you, right, or was harsh with you, doesn't always mean that that person is toxic, right? So I somewhere feel that clarity about what exactly is toxic and what is not is a little off. Because as I said, I mean, in my day and age, it was very simple, right? Your job is to focus on your work. Are you writing better copy? Are you doing better art? Right? If you're not, then you figure out, right? Nobody, I would say, made me sit back and stay back in office, right? But I felt
Right.
that, okay, you know what? For me to go ahead, I need to spend some time. I can't go home. I live in a chawl, right? I don't have the quiet that I would expect. So I'll sit in office, right? And I'll work on it, right? So somewhere I feel that, the stress was always there. The way we reacted to stress was very different, I would say, or way we approached it was very different. Probably because we had this clarity that I need to get somewhere. I need to improve my work, so I'll spend time. That also told you what is not acceptable, right? That also gave you that clarity. That okay, I'm doing all this. I'm being sincere, honest, hardworking, all that I'm doing, but somewhere things are just not working out. So then maybe it's the organization. I just need to move on.
I think, so basically, I think I stumbled upon advertising, right?
Hmm.
It wasn't a career choice that you make when you're in college, for example. Though I was good at dramatics and debates and elocutions and all the creative aspects of college life. I was doing my BCom, right? And I wanted to be a chartered accountant. Now, the late 90s was still probably an era where you still had medicine and MBA and all that engineering, right? Today, of course, we are more acceptable to skill-based work today, right? You don't look down upon people who want to become writers, for example. But in the late 90s, it was still like writer banega, jhola pehnega, kya karega types, right? Journalism and writing were not really understood completely. So that was one aspect. Secondly, we didn't have technology, right? There was no technology, there was no internet, there was no social sort of echo chamber happening anywhere around us. So our choices were very clear. I got into advertising on a chance meeting of meeting somebody creative, and I said, that's a cool job to be in, right? And I said, I don't know if I'm a writer. I had no idea what writing is or copywriting is or what the F you do in an advertising agency. But I said, okay, there was a magazine called The Brief at that time, which used to come on newsstands. I used to pick it up and I used to read some great interviews from Chats and Pops, and we used to say, wow, that's advertising. I used to meet a couple of advertising people here or there. And I felt it was very cool. Yeah, you can dress down, you can, smoking and drinking and acting cool. And I said, fuck, that's so much better than being in a bank or as an MBA in any way, right? So I think you stumbled upon it, you got into it, and then you did a little bit of homework, of course. You knew there were the Ogilvies of the world and the Chetra Leo Bunnets in those days. And, you knew that there were 20 agencies which were really good, which were sort of MNCs or larger. And then, there was this other chunk of mid-sized agencies which were proprietor-led, which were unique in their own way. Like a Preeti Vyas GNT in those days was very unique as an art design-led agency, and you wanted to work with Preeti Vyas as a designer, you would go there, right? Or if you wanted to work with Alok Nanda when he hived off to Alok Nanda Communications just as a copywriter, you wanted to go there. And I think the people who led the agencies, no, by and large, whether it was a big agency or a small agency or a mid agency, they were invested in the advertising business. Because there was money, there was still a 17.65% commission in media. Creators were being paid well. So though, like Ashish put it very well, there was stress, and you knew that you knew what you were signed up for. There was a clarity from the top management as well, right? So yes, there were. I know from my friends from that time, there were toxic agencies at that time as well. And eventually, if it gets too toxic for you, whether it's a big agency, middle, whatever size of the agency, you need to move out. As simple as that. And it happens across any agency structure. What has changed today is exactly what Ashish says. I think the level of sort of pain has gone down. The resistance to pain. Anything and everything is toxic today, right?
Yeah.
So and while I empathize totally with the young generation, because they're just being hauled into a maelstrom of confusion, because everyone on LinkedIn is a writer, every chacha, mama, uncle is saying I'm a ghostwriter, this writer, that writer, right? Or guidance nahi hai, there are no mentors, there's no process. then you see the shebang thing happening. I'm sorry, I'm taking names, but we didn't have all these controversies surrounding us, right? I mean, we didn't know what was happening in most agencies, apart if you met at a Toto's or a Gokul for a drink, yeah, right? So I think the coolness really is all about what's in your head, yeah, at the end of the day. I think by and large, the writers I worked with, the creative people I worked with, we've been very middle class. Okay,
Yeah.
we are very middle class people who have worked hard, gone home, had a family life or a whatever sex life or a drinking life or whatever life it is, and we have gone back home, gone back to office the next day with our vodka breath and still gone back to work. Okay. So a
Right.
coolness quotient is all very nice to say, but at the end of the day, Ashish knows, I know advertising is a damn unforgiving business at times. The
Right.
glamour is only in your head, right? So ये aspect and you have to deal with it, yeah. Whatever the territory that comes with the sort of industry, you got to deal with it. But yes, I think because we speak a lot more about mental health today, about validation today, about social media pressures today, I understand where the young generation is coming from. What they're talking about, there is an element of truth in it because there is confusion. We had a little more clarity. So it's tough sometimes for me to say that, oh, don't complain all the time. But yeah, maybe they are in a situation where they are being
Yeah.
picked to complain every time, right? And they're seeing their peers. See, at the end of the day, we also were a product of our peers, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if you're seeing peers not hanging on or complaining or saying that no, that's it, I'm done, I don't care if I lose 15 days pay, I'm quitting tomorrow. हम लोग वो भी करते थे, we used to think like that, कि let's quit on the
Yeah.
31st so that we get our salary. अरे we are middle class people, यार salary चाहिए था
Salary.
अपने
Yeah.
को, right? So we
Salary.
should
Yeah. That's true. That's
time
true.
our resignations also, right? So
Exactly.
I think that
Yeah.
is all gone, and yeah, I mean it's just time, yeah. Wait.
You both spoke of two things that I, picked Ashish and Shanti. That one is this idea of doing something willingly versus being expected to do it, right?
Yeah.
That one. And two, point of this social pressures and the time changing that you spoke of, Shanti. So, what I wanted to understand was when we speak of toxicity as a word, do you feel, this is meaning of toxicity or that threshold that you speak of, Shantesh, that has lowered now, right? Do you think that it has a lot to do with the scenario in the sense of the happy with their lives, other aspects too, which
Yeah,
also reflects in how well they are able to deal with that work, right?
yeah,
The need to be able to have put more efforts in a personal relationship, and if you have a job that's demanding, maybe that does not allow you to put that much
yeah,
effort in a personal relationship. Secondly, the fact that uh, when Ashish spoke of the fact that I also feel when I started, there was this drive that I know that if I write this copy say 5 more times, I will better my craft as supposed to, because my boss wants it maybe 5 more times.
Mm.
That is
yeah,
that option that you have, right?
yeah.
So do you feel that those parameters through which you maybe gauged the way your professional life was and the importance you had to pay on in your personal life, because that has also changed for a lot of young people,
Hmm.
maybe the level or the definition of toxicity is different. Do you feel agree or disagree or
I'll take this first, Ashish, remember quickly.
Yeah. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so Simil, I think the ball game in advertising has changed, right? I mean, I don't think we can even
Hmm,
call it advertising anymore. It's I think a
hmm,
redundant term these days, right? You can call it
right,
any number of X words from the new lexicon today of marketing jargon, right? See, let's put it this way: there was stress then, there's stress now. There was a pressure cooker then, there's a pressure cooker now, right? But
right,
thankfully, and I'm saying this very honestly, that I did not have to do social media posts when I was growing up. Okay, I
exactly,
knew that
right,
there was a press ad to be done, a press campaign to be done, a radio campaign to be done, maybe an outdoor, and in the lucky times that you had, a film would come along, right? That's one
hmm,
part. So you had four basic silos you were delivering to. Secondly, there was
right,
time. It was not that everything was needed yesterday. Not everything was wanted
yeah,
yesterday. I think 50% of the jobs,
right,
yes, wanted yesterday. 50% of the times you had enough time to plan a campaign, come up with ideas, brainstorm, put it on the table, debate, send to client, come back, right? But today, a 22, 23, 24-year-old person who's in a digital environment, social environment, working in that agency, he's told, yaar, 5 post aaj chahiye, 6 post aaj chahiye, upar niche hota hai. Then they're sitting with Shutterstock. Then they've got to fight against some clip somewhere for TikTok. I mean, see, I know they're agile. I know we call them an agile generation, but creativity at the end of the day has to come from fun, no? There has to be some element of fun. There
Exactly.
has to be some element of
Correct.
you can't create from destruction. I know it's a very philosophical
Hmm.
thing to say that destroy hoga to create hoga, but
Hmm.
I honestly enjoyed my daily life in agencies, man. I mean, I would have
Exactly.
fun. I would joke around. I would go into the studio. I would meet the studio manager. We would even sit and have a drink in the afternoon sometimes. There was time to have a beer. There was time to have
Hmm.
lunch. There was time to actually
Hmm.
go to a Jahangir Art gallery, right?
Hmm.
Today, boss, you're stuck to your desk, right? You literally like
Right.
you have a Slack which is slacking you off all the time. You have your own teams
Yeah.
happening. You got WhatsApp happening. You got ups and downs happening because social is just social at the moment, right? You're always agile, always
Hmm.
on.
So business as
So
usual is what has taken
yeah,
over,
it's not
right?
the same. So I mean, it is definitely toxic to that extent. Yes, of
Hmm.
course. I mean, life is obviously going to be the traffic in Sakinaka is going to be the traffic in Sakinaka. Traffic in Dubai is going to be traffic in Dubai. That you're going to deal with. You're going to deal with your spouse, partner, whatever, in the same way that you were dealing 25 years back. There's no difference. Yeah, maybe a little more aspirational today. But the thing is, comes down to the work. It all eventually boils down to the work, right? So if you
Yeah.
are not happy because of this pressure, then you are not going to be able to deliver and you will feel burnt out pretty much every day, right? And then your resistance level as a creative, some people have great resistance levels. They can afford to take that pain and that pressure because of various reasons. One, they're built that way, or two, they don't have an option, or three, they're just like, fuck it, who cares, right? But that's only 1% or 2% of the people. The remaining 98% are literally like salmon in front of hungry grizzly bears. Yeah, they're going to be caught, some of them, right? So then what do you do? So I don't blame the young generation, honestly. I mean, if I was back in advertising in 99 and I had, post to deliver on Instagram and TikTok and this and that on a daily basis with content buckets to fill, I would be kicking the bucket long time back, right? So
Yeah.
Right.
I think I would have been out of advertising in 3 years. I really think that would have been the case. The content bucket and my bucket would
Yeah.
have emptied by that time. But
That
yeah,
that's
that's how
what
it is.
I think when Ashish also started speaking of, and what you also Shanti spoke of, is that this thing now, that when you would stay back, it was to make an idea better. You come together,
Yeah.
let
Yeah.
it simmer, add things, and add more
Oh, and
ingredients, make it.
see, we spent late nights. We spent a lot of late nights in agencies, right? The agencies we worked in. But there was a bonhomie. There was always the fact that, let's go out to have dinner and a drink and discuss our ideas. ऐसा नहीं था कि वो 4 बजा 5 बजा, I'm still here at my desk. I don't think I ever had that situation where I felt, oh, screw man, I'm in a 48 hour, 72 hour, or 96-hour cycle. I think we enjoyed ourselves. We worked hard, we partied hard, and we there was this whole thing that the creative directors had our back. You know,
Yes.
most creative
Absolutely.
directors had our
Absolutely.
back.
Absolutely.
They wanted us
Absolutely.
to,
Yeah.
to do well, right? And I'm saying that with
Yeah.
all honesty. I mean, of course, there's
Yeah.
politics, and of course, there were some bad apples, but by and large, my creative directors backed me and said, "Shanti, do it." Right?
Mm.
Today versus today, creative directors are so overburdened that all they're doing is that jaldi kar yaar, 1 घंटे में finish कर यार, ये left hand job है, उड़ा ले, I
Their
think there's
job
no
is just
mentorship.
पूरा करना.
So I'm going as a young guy, taking a brief, coming back, and I'm just left to the wolves there, literally. So
Yeah.
वो एक बड़ा problem है, वो बहुत बड़ा problem है.
No, also to add to that, see, I mean, I agree with him completely that the work itself has changed, right? The kind of work you're doing has completely changed. It's definitely a lot more overwhelming. Like, I mean, as a freelancer, when I approached clients, some of them turned around and said, "You'll do social media," and I was like, "No, I'm scared of social media." Right? I mean, I'm
Exactly.
scared of delivering under that pressure. So that pressure is real. The kind of pressures people are under is again like very different now because, as I said, see, we were focused on the quality, like Shantesh was saying. It was not about the quantity; it was about the quality.
Yeah,
Everything was about building that portfolio. Why build that portfolio? Because you'll get your next job based on that, right? You'll make
absolutely.
your name. You want to be a better writer in your team, then your
Exactly.
agency, then your branch, right? Then that
Correct.
network. You want people to call you, right?
Correct.
So your focus was that. Now, if you see, people have to do a lot more to stay relevant, or at least that's what they think it is, right? It's not just the portfolio. Like we had to literally focus on the portfolio. Whether we had good presentation skills right away, didn't matter. Did you dress well? Doesn't matter, right?
Correct.
Now there's a lot more pressure about how what are you doing, how you come across as a person in an organization, as well as someone on social media. We didn't have the social media pressure.
Personal brand.
Personal brand, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, personal
so
brand.
those pressures are real, but I think what is unfortunate is again what I was saying, that even with this pressure, what will help people is clarity, right? Is focus on work. I see a lot of people doing all sorts of things, but not care about the work they do, right? I mean, I see. I don't want to point it out, but I would say I keep seeing this trend that hey, I am so cool, hire me, right? Sure, you're cool,
Yeah.
sure, but can you show me how cool you are? Like, can you show me something
Yeah.
that proves
Right.
that, right? So somewhere
Right.
it's a little, because I think it's again because of all this pressure of coming across as someone who's awesome, so that
Yeah.
should be hired, right? So somewhere I think
Mm,
the
mm,
way things work have completely changed. If you look at, see, when you look at you know toxic environments and things like that, someone like Shantesh and I, we didn't even know what half the things were, right? We won't even,
Exactly.
like PG Wodehouse says now, we won't even have known if it had gotten up and slapped us in the face. We didn't know what
Yeah.
toxic work culture was, right? Because we were focused
yeah.
on the work. We didn't care that it was late. Like I worked with Enterprise Nexus, okay, when Mohammed Khan was around. It was a different thrill. I was there in office till 2-3 o'clock every night. Back at work at 9:30. Before Mohammed comes in, I'm there, right? Why? Because I was excited. I wanted to show him
Absolutely.
that I've cracked something, I've written something, see what you think,
Right.
right? So somewhere I would say even the payoff was clear,
Yeah.
right? The
Mm,
payoff was clear.
mm,
What is your payoff? Like uh, I spoke about this entire work-life balance thing when I lost my job, and a lot of people reached out. I think that's how Shanti and I actually
Yeah.
met on LinkedIn, right?
Correct.
And I
Correct.
spoke about it. In that also, I've mentioned that I knew what I was signing up for, right? It's
mm.
just that when the shit hit the ceiling, I called it centralized DC. That's when I was like, okay, now this is not acceptable. I mean, this has now crossed the limit, right? But
Limit.
you always had the payoff clearly in your mind, in the sense, okay, this agency works makes you work 16 hours a day, right? But it also
Mm,
wins a lot of awards. Do I want awards? Then maybe I should go there, right?
Correct.
Or I worked in
right.
an organization where, again, they work 12, 13 hours or maybe 24/7. Everybody's thinking all the time and there are calls happening all the time. But that's one organization where even the junior most person can speak up without fear of
Mm,
failing. You're allowed to
Yeah.
fail, right? No, you too batao
right.
chalo. 2 saal industry mein doesn't matter. You tell me what you think. We'll build something out of it. So as long as you're clear about the one more example, actually, I worked at an organization which was extremely strict about time, not just
Mm,
the start of the day,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
end of the day. You
True.
are allowed to f off at 5 o'clock. I used to love that, but after a while, I saw that it's not adding to my portfolio. I'm not doing anything interesting, no interesting brands. Because, so again, even though they insisted on 8 hours or whatever, 8.5, 9 hours of work every day, and insisted on you going away, eventually the payoff was that I don't have anything to show for it, right?
Yeah.
So somewhere I
mm,
think that the stress is definitely real for younger people, but I just believe that, like Chandesh was saying, if you focus on your work, if you are able to hone your skill to such a level that you can do things faster, better, right?
Yeah.
Try to get things done one shot, maybe 2 rounds of changes, right? If you
mm.
start aiming for that, then maybe it'll start helping you.
Yeah. I don't
Indeed.
know. I have this weird thing to say, and I'll say it because I think sometimes honesty is important. I used to actually enjoy working nights because most of the
Mm,
creative people were alive at night. Generally, we were like
Yeah,
vampires.
right.
And offices
Right.
used to take good care of us, right? You
Yeah,
could order dinner, you could go out for drinks,
you can go home by
AC.
taxi.
Like Ashish said, no, chawl mein rehne ka. I don't think I had a AC at home, but there was this amazing
Yeah.
ACs in office, right? In fact, one of the AC brands even did that as an insight, no? So go घर पे जाके office में जाके बैठता है पूरा दिन types. So
Right.
I think, see, we came in the 90s from very little, to be honest, right? It was a different
Hmm.
era. I mean, yeah, India had liberalized in 91, but everyone was still middle class, middle class. यार. Having an AC at home was a big thing. Mobile phone था नहीं. वो dial phone था ना. So offices had great libraries. They had a gym. They had a mess where you could eat, and there was ACs around and people, and So I'll put my hand on my heart and say I enjoyed nights in offices because we were very productive. To be honest, actually, दिन भर है ना, most of us used to fart around. To be very honest, if we were just filling up the
Yeah.
numbers, we used to
Yeah.
doze off half the time. And by 6 o'clock, now
Yeah.
once everyone has that cigarette break, no, so then that things would sort of kick into action.
Uh,
So
Action.
I
Yeah, you would
don't look
come
at
to
it
that.
as I'd never thought of it as toxic. Maybe now if I go back and meet my younger self and look at that person and say, "यार क्या चूतिया है तू यार इतना इतना काम क्यों कर रहा है?" Right? But I never felt pain. Yeah, I enjoyed that
And
growing
it
up, as
felt
they say.
like, because I think Shantesh, because that is also because it felt like college life, right? In the
Yeah,
sense that you are having
exactly.
fun, you are working on a project, so to say, together.
Yeah,
It's something you enjoy doing. Because I also remembered I really enjoyed late nights at a point when I knew I was working on something fun. I was
yeah,
working on something that,
absolutely.
I get to learn from the seniors to seniors who will come down and who will sit with you. So you're like, okay, this is exciting, because in the day I don't get to sit with them and
Yeah.
work on stuff.
See,
But
beer ki batli and biryani nahi tha, to
exactly,
we used to not work here half the time. So, honestly,
yeah,
so
But I'll
I'm
tell you
sorry,
what,
but I'm just putting it out there. That was how it was.
I think what you said is actually very crucial because I think the simple difference would be that we also had late nights, we also worked hard, and we also had these situations where bosses were not clear about what they wanted. They just cracked the whip on us. But I think somewhere the difference, if I may say so, you know, we didn't have a gun to our head.
Hmm.
We were pushed
yeah,
to take
exactly.
our own call. We were told the end result that was wanted. We were
Hmm.
told कि बॉस ये कल रेडी चाहिए. अभी कैसे करेगा तू? It's your problem. तू
Yeah.
घर जाके आ, घर पे जाके कर दोस्त के I don't care. You want to step out and have a drink and come back, work till
Yeah.
4 o'clock. I don't care. I want this work. This work has to be delivered tomorrow. So can you have it ready by 9 o'clock? Yeah, I'll figure out. So now I think somewhere some people, at least I don't know if it's true, but some people at least told me that there's this gun to the head that this is, I mean, every
Absolutely.
day you have to deliver this much, otherwise you're of
Yeah.
no use.
Correct.
Yeah,
So
and it's
somewhere I think
mostly
we
monotonous
enjoyed
work.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we somewhere enjoyed it because it was still, I mean, we were clear about I think it's also the way we reacted to feedback. Firstly, there was feedback. Firstly, there was
Mhm.
actually feedback from
Yeah.
seniors, right? There was honest feedback, whether it was delivered in a kind way or very unkind way. Seniors used to give you some feedback. Either even if they say your work is shit, right? They'll say, "Nee, your headlines are not making any sense. Try something like this now," and they'll go away. At least you have some direction, right? And you sit and work on it. But I think it's also the way I believe we took that feedback. We didn't take it as what does he think? Right? What does he know better? No, boss, that's Balki, right?
Hmm.
That's Mohammed
Correct.
Khan. He's
Correct.
done something in life, right? I don't know better than him, right? So
Hmm.
let me, if he's saying I should do this, let me try. Let me try. I think somewhere that started defining us as people, how we reacted to that.
Yeah.
Was it toxic? In a sense, it was. I mean, in a sense, it was. You see, you feel very strange when you're not in school and you get scolded by someone, right? When as grown-ups, when you get scolded, it feels very strange, right?
Feel
So
different.
yeah, but you at least do that. Okay, fine. I need to now get back to Mohammed Khan and tell him here are 5 lines.
Yeah.
ऐसा मैंने ऐसे headlines लिखे हैं ना कि आपकी तो मतलब फटने वाली है, right? You wanted to do that, so you
Yeah.
sat back. You
To
had the
become better.
energy to put
One
it.
last sort of, there is something called an ideas overload at the end of the day, right? I think you can't today. I think if you're asked to come up with 10 ideas for 5 brands in one day, because that's what it is
Yeah,
today,
yeah,
how the hell are you going to do it, man? How? You know, and
Mhm.
you have to do this day in, day out, day in, day out, right? So even with all the experience under my command, I can't, right? I just cannot, because I will hit a wall in 2 days and say that's only that much juice you can take out of a lemon, right? So वो problem है मेरे को लग रहा है, you know. I think
Yeah.
we knew we were handling 3 brands. We had a fixed sort of CPS in path to what we were doing. And even if we struggled with ideas, we had just that one job or 2 jobs in a day, right? So you could juggle
Mm.
between it. You had people to help you. Your
Mhm.
art directors were a good support. Art directors did not have to worry about यार मैं टिकटॉक पे क्या करने वाला हूँ, उसको एम्पलीफाई कैसे करने वाला हूँ, राइट?
Mm.
They
Mm.
were sitting focused saying that यार मेरा प्रेस एड कैसे दिखना चाहिए यार, what should my photography be like, you know, how do I lay this bloody thing out, how do I visually think of your line. Whereas now
Yes.
you are saying visual भी क्रैक करना है, केवी भी करना है, एम्पलीफाई भी करना है, सोशल मीडिया में क्या करते
Yes.
हैं, ये टिकटॉक पे डांस होगा क्या इसका, you know, fuck all that, man. I mean, where's your
9 by
idea?
16 भी चाहिए, 16 by
हाँ,
9 भी चाहिए, 4 by
exactly.
16.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, we were
हाँ.
living in a much better era, I felt. I mean, that's what every subsequent era
Yeah.
always says, right? But it is true. It is really true.
It
That's
is
what really happened.
you both spoke of two things, right? Like one, obviously, like we spoke about the choice to stay back comes from a place that you enjoyed the space you had created for yourself at work, right?
Mm.
And secondly, the kind of load of work was very different from that to this time, um,
Absolutely.
uh, and obviously the quality of work as well. But so that, but Ashish, you spoke of having mentors like Balki. That put me I wanted to put across a question which has been something that a lot of people come to me with, right? They speak to me, and Shanti, in your copywriting classes also, and I think Ashish, you also do it. The one of the major issues is that how do you guide them, right? Now, when you guys the time you guys have spent in advertising, you had mentors you looked up to. You had people around you who had earned that craft over their course of advertising career, and that is what they were in a sense helping you with. Now,
Mm.
today, the problem, one of the major problems that the young creatives face is a lack of mentorship. That is because the people who become their managers are only maybe just because of a talent they have without actually knowing how to handle teams. Either that, or it's through some politics or some 5,000 different reasons. But the problem is that, and that's what I wanted to put a little highlight on here and discuss, is that how important is that management, the your immediate boss, in your understanding of this toxicity that you speak of, because a lot of people have a problem with the boss, not
Hmm.
perhaps just the work, but the way they are, and now you both have agencies, you are employees, sorry, employers, and not just employees. So
Mm.
when that dynamic changes, what kind of a culture, I say, because you guys are the level who can make it, but for a boss, what are the kind of things you think a boss needs to have, and a mentor that, and I'm saying this so that people who are actually just living up to that role suddenly, who have been promoted, they are usually clueless, they have no idea. They are so used to doing their work, getting all the applause, but now they're at a position where they handle 5 people and they can't, because they're not
Hmm.
able to, they don't know how do I delegate work, say, and not take credit for someone else's work, because that's that's a very big change, right, in terms of how you have been uh,
Yeah.
in the job. So what do you guys feel should be, uh, I mean, of course there's no one way of mentorship, but some things that either you have learned from someone, or you help others with. What are the kind of things that you think should be discussed with manager, or the managers should know ideally?
So simple. I think. See, I go back to the fact that I had a lot of respect for the creative directors I worked with. Number one, right? Because there was a certain caliber to them. They knew they had done their bit in the industry, right? And they knew advertising. Number two, I think very importantly, the second more important point here is the fact that there was a lot of respect for the creative directors with the clients as well, right?
Yeah.
When I'm saying, I'm sure Ashish would know this. I mean, if a Mohammed Khan walked into a client of Enterprise Nexus at that time, that was Mohammed Khan walking into the room, right? So what happens is the respect given by the client to the agency owner or the agency creative director used to be a collaborators. They were collaborators essentially. And that then permeated downwards into the agency, right? That confidence that a creative director had after meeting a client, or if a client had something unsavory to say, for example, or if there was any kind of problem on an account, you would have that creative director and even the agency owner, if there was a separate agency owner, for example, really back that agency up. So the culture was set, right? There was a clear culture.
Right.
Now, yeah, the cultures vary from agencies to agencies, of course, right? No agency has a similar culture. Now, once that sort of lineage sort of or that atmosphere permeates downwards even to the intern copywriter or the intern art director, you feel reassured. You feel reassured, right? Secondly, what is to happen is that they ऐसे ही करना है वैसे ही करना है हाँ ठीक है. At times you would go and show your work to the creative director, then there would be points of view and crafting points of view or think differently or give me 5 options or whatever. But I was never called into a room and said do this, right? Never. I don't remember the last time a creative director called me and said, no, we got to do this, right? They allowed us to go, float around, fuck around, make mistakes, come back, and then there would be a recourse or a recharting or a reorientation. I think that is gone, honestly, because
Yeah.
what's happened is, see, every industry at the end of the day, you need a second set of leaders, a third set of leaders, a fourth set of leaders. In our case, what happened is getting into the next padan or the next sort of ladder, step of the ladder. There was a process, right? So if you went from a copy trainee to a junior copywriter, to a senior copywriter, to a copy supervisor, to a group head, to then an ACD copy, and then a CD copy, and then whatever, right? Whatever, you keep going up the ladder. Those were earned, those were merited.
Yeah.
Uh, they were a function of your quality, the effort, the time, the passion, the awards, whatever you want to call it, right? They were not given overnight. You had to earn them. The only time you would probably get it overnight is if you were in a very small agency setup where you were literally were doing everything, right? But most of the mid to large agencies had a clear hierarchy. Now, the reason for the hierarchy also is that everyone one level above you has gone through that same process. So they know what
Right.
they're doing when they're handling you. अभी क्या हो रहा है
Yeah.
कि 25 साल का लड़का लड़की को क्रिएटिव डायरेक्टर बना रहे हैं. अब वो बंदा या बंदी has not even understood marketing, not even understood what it takes to be with a client. You know,
Probably not even face the
imagine,
client.
yeah, imagine facing a client when a client is throwing a bullet at you at 25 and you have not been in that role as a creative director. Whereas if I was going in a meeting at 25, I had my creative director with me. So even if I was fired at that meeting, I would have a hand on my back saying, dude, it's okay, I'm handling it, right? Or we'll handle it in some way. Here, you're letting the lambs to the wolves at 25, and then how do you expect them to mentor when they're being scarred right now? Yeah. So it's the process, yeah. It's that whole ladder, no? That hierarchy and that ladder. There was a reason why it existed. It's like the army.
Another
You
thing
really.
about this, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah.
another
No,
thing I wanted
yes.
to, before I forget, I want to mention about this hierarchy itself, right? Uh, we were taught it very differently. Like, for example, like you were saying, all of these rungs of that hierarchy had a proper function, had a clear function. Okay, you're a copywriter, you are in charge of writing copy. You're a copy supervisor, you are supervising the copy that other people write, right?
Correct.
You're a group
Right.
head, you're going to head that group, right?
Correct.
So your CD is supposed to, or your ACD is supposed to come to you and say, I don't care what that person did or whether they're absent today. Where is the copy? You are the group head,
Exactly.
right?
True.
So same, I mean, ACD. But the other thing was, it was clear that, if you are going to be a great copywriter, you will stay the copywriter for years.
Absolutely.
But if you start
Absolutely.
understanding that, I need to now function like a copy supervisor, then you will be made a supervisor. You're an
Yeah.
ACD, what are you doing? You're trying to act like a CD should, right? You might not face a client directly. A CD has to face the client directly, be completely responsible for the work that the team has done, right? I mean, take credit, but also, take the big bats, right? But an ECD is like an understudy then, right? You are looking at what the CD is doing, how he or she is handling a client. What do they say? What do they, we took 3 campaigns, but we presented only 2. Third one, what was that about? You start learning these things, right? So there was clarity in that also. That if you keep on doing your job as an ACD, you will stay an ACD.
Yeah.
You know, that I
Right.
mean that would be the
Right.
next level thinking. If you start
Correct.
thinking about the next level. But see, besides that, I also feel that our competition was with our boss. Like for
Mm.
example, for me, what I learned and what I also practiced as a creative director at a few places, and I still do, is to lead with example. Excuse me, is to lead with
Mm.
example, right? Like our bosses used to, not just crack the whip, saying कि here's the brief, अब तो सोच ले. It was very clear कि boss, if you don't go back with good ideas, your boss already has some idea in his mind, in
Yeah.
her
Right.
mind. So you
Correct.
are trying to
Right.
make sure that your idea is better than that boss's idea. It's not about time,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Now what happens is, am I doing 5 posts? Am I doing 10 posts? It's becoming more about that. Is
Mm.
what I feel.
Right.
The other time it was very simple. Like the as a leader, if you're leading a team, right? There are of course many factors, right? You need to understand who's good at what motivates people, right?
Correct.
Is someone like Shantesh was saying, some people actually function better in the night. I had a
Yeah.
I had a I had a copywriter in my team, and he used to come to work at some 11:30, 12, right? And I was constantly getting flack from my seniors saying, why is this guy late, right? So I asked him, dude, what the hell, why are you late? Then I started finding out that, then I found out from him that he preferred working in the night. So he used to work
Mm.
late in the night, right? I
Mm.
never had a single complaint against him, either from me or from anyone else. He was a fantastic writer. He still is, right? So somewhere there was that clarity ki, okay, fine, this is something that like people might have a parent to take care of, right? So you
Yeah.
as a leader, you have to somewhere balance that out, right? Where that trade-off is clear. Instead of saying that you have to be in office from 9 to 9, right? If I'm giving you the goal that boss, this work has to be delivered, how you deliver is your problem. Is one thing I think leaders should be doing. Second, I feel, as I said, that you should lead with example. In the sense, I crack ideas simultaneously, right? If you're the leader of a team,
Right.
that means of all those people, you are the one responsible, right, to
Yeah.
get it done.
Exactly.
All of them can fall ill and
Yeah.
just
It's a,
50 like go.
it's a
You should be
captain in
able
the
to still
cricket
do
team,
it.
no? Captain in the
Yeah,
cricket team. You
Yeah.
have to be
yeah.
that. You
You
can't
have
say
to
I'm not going to
deliver.
bat now because other batters are there. Eh? You got to be Kohli. You have
Correct,
to play
correct,
Kohli. Captain's knock. So
correct.
so
So like
That's
Shantesh
it.
was saying that if I am absent, you think Mohammad Khan can't write copy? Of course he can.
yeah.
He'll get layouts also done if he has to, right?
Right.
Because somewhere that they had those skills in place. That's why they were not insecure, right?
Yeah.
They were secure in their skill. They knew that okay, even if this was anything happens, right, I can get this done. I will have a presentation on the table, so it's okay.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
somewhere,
simple thing. So sorry, Ashish. Like
yeah,
I actually saw one of my creative directors sitting in studio and cutting a board here.
yeah,
And getting an ad pasted, right?
yeah,
So
Mm.
everyone got their hands dirty when they needed to. There was no
Mm.
that oh मैं creative director हूँ तो मैं बैठेगा एक room में types.
Yeah.
exactly.
I think
I
essentially you
think
are yeah so, yeah sorry
yeah,
sorry
I think title the the meaning of that title has changed now, because I feel that people become creative directors, etc. Now more for the rights than the responsibility. So they forget the fact that, like you said,
Hmm.
that they also have to step up when the team is not available. And I
Yeah,
think it has a
absolutely.
lot to do with what you both spoke of, is how you are prepared for the next role while you are at this role, right?
yeah
Yeah, yeah,
Which used to happen then. So if I'm a copywriter, I know I work my way through it, and maybe some intern joins and I'm helping that intern grow, which prepares me to become, say, like a senior copywriter, perhaps.
yeah
Hmm.
I
But
know there's this sorry Simran. uh
yeah, yeah, please go.
when when I became a junior copywriter from an intern, no, and there was a new intern who came, and the creative director told me, Shanti, he's under your wing. I actually felt good, yeah. You know, see, kya hota
Yeah,
hai, I was like
yeah,
hardly 6 months in business at that time. But what happens, the responsibility is then given to you, no? Now he actually was a better writer than me. I'll even say that. He's
mm,
done much
Hmm.
better in life than me as well. He would eat me up alive. Within 1 month of working with him, I realized, ye kha jayega mujhe, right? But the thing is that at least I was given that responsibility and I was told, listen, learn. If he makes mistakes, you get fucked. Right. So,
Yeah,
so I was already held responsible just 6 months down into business myself. And that
Mm.
I
right.
think is missing right now. Even the smallest
Yeah.
rung, if you lead that responsibility, then what happens is everyone around the chain takes that responsibility. But right now it's all sort
Responsibility.
of
Yeah.
बिखरा हुआ types. थोड़ा बिखरा हुआ लग रहा है मेरे को.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone is prepared. I think
Yeah.
back then they were prepared, and like you're right that today, if I come from a good college, I directly join as a CD. Right, in a
Yeah.
lot of places that happens. There are so
Mm.
many small companies which only hire you because they give you big titles, and you join them because you get a big title. Right,
Correct.
Yeah.
irrespective of what you have done in the past. So I think that has. Then what happens is a lot of seasoned writers when they enter and they see someone above me who's incapable but there because of xyz reasons, they start to, that is when the whole ego clash, the whole politics and the culture as we speak of starts getting toxic as
Mm.
that that is so. um, you both pointed out some excellent points, and I think sometimes when I'm listening to both of you, I understand what my bosses also felt, because I think I was at the cusp of that change happening, right? Because I had bosses who had been in hardcore mainline, and I was the digital, the person who was digital first, so I had joined them. So for them, they were understanding from me, and I was understanding that advertising life from them. The OG advertising life as we speak of it. But like I said, that I've also had bad bosses, Shanti, like you spoke of that. You were never asked to do something, but like I had this CCO who spoke to me. Uh, I had said no to working on a brand. I said we shouldn't work on a brand because they had stolen our ideas in the past. So they used to pitch for ideas, they would steal it. And I said we
Mm.
should have a stand as a company.
Mm.
And he said that you are not the one to decide such things. It's our job. Your job is just to do what you're doing. So
Mm.
for me, at that point, obviously I lost respect for him as a leader that is there. But I
Mm.
also felt that it's not about just taking a stand. It's also understanding that eventually I did work on it, to be honest, because
Mm.
that's how it was. But mm, but the point was that the difference in leadership in that sense changes the way I view, uh, you know, that organization, because I know everyone would support him, and then that will keep going on, right?
Mm.
I'm
Mm.
giving you perspective because I felt that I have also had leaders, like I speak so much about this on LinkedIn because I have worked with so many different kinds of leaders. I've worked with some really good ones also, but I've also worked with like horrible, uh, you know, managers. And
Right.
I also I also feel that's because I've always been in digital. So the it was a very different lifestyle altogether
Mm.
there. Now being in a position that you are setting cultures from wherever you are, right? You both are in your own capacity, not just through your agencies, but through the workshops you give, to the kind of guidance so called you provide. What about you guys? I'm sure that the pressures do get to you sometimes, not just in terms of culture, but in terms of the kind of shitty clients you deal with, perhaps. Or Ashish, you were also very honest about the part where you were laid off, and you would to have
Mm.
dealt with that. So for someone maybe listening to this, what are the kind of I don't like to categorize mental health strategies into one, because that's like a whole universe altogether. But maybe anything that both of you can share with people in your capacity to deal with the pressures of today.
What I would say is that we often think that an organization will change, right? Like one of the questions you had spoken about earlier was that do organizations know about mental health, right? Are they aware about
Right,
mental health? Like,
right,
if I were to answer that first, I would say that, yeah, I mean, everybody is aware of mental health, right? It's just what they do about it. It's
right,
crucial. Like, for example, I mean, there are some. I won't say organizations don't take care of mental health at all, right? But if you look at it, that if something serious crops up, like usually the principle is that don't try to fix what's not broken, right? If it's not broken, don't try to fix it, unless and until someone comes up with something and says, hey, you know what, this is the bothering me. An organization might not take any action, right? It's unfortunate, but I mean that's how businesses work. Unfortunately, we have to understand that part of it first. Uh, when it comes to serious mental health issues, sexual assault, right, or use of alcohol or drugs which are affecting you, right, in the sense not just you, smoking up and stuff like that, but imagine if you have a boss who's always drunk or smoked up and
Mm.
tries to get fresh with you. I don't know. I mean, those kind of situations, those every organization thankfully deals with very swiftly, right? I have seen
Right.
people fired within 6 hours, right? 6 hours,
Mm.
literally like in Hollywood movies, given one empty carton, निकल ले, तू निकल ले यहाँ से, right? So those things happen, but unfortunately, things like late hours and my boss scolded me. Some of these things are not that high on the list. So all I would say is your stress usually comes from the fact that you think you will change the organization.
Absolutely.
You think that because you will talk about it, suddenly things will change. Unfortunately, sometimes things don't change, right? So that's why I said you need to have a clarity about what did you join that organization from, what were you expecting, right? If you're getting that, great. Then you have to understand that some of these things will come with it, right? Like I said, even if you work at some of the leading agencies which are known for great work, right? It's not like they're chilling out, right? It's not like everybody just smoking up and chilling and think. No, there are real pressures. There are everyday things that you have to do, right? So I would somewhere say what I was saying right at the beginning, that you need to have some clarity in what you want to do, right? You need to literally sift between what is actually toxic, what is not really toxic, what is part of learning that skill and improving that skill. Why I would say that is because uh, like Shanti was saying earlier, it's actually all about your work, right? It's all about your ideas. If you like, I've seen 99% of the time, the solution to most of these problems is an idea, right? You're
Yeah.
stuck in office till late. Why? Because you don't have any
Correct.
ideas.
Very true.
You have ideas, you can
Right.
have off,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
Client is belligerent, is shouting at you. Here's an idea. Idea देखो बहुत. Okay, fine. Now I'm liking the idea, so now I'm going to calm down, right?
Correct.
Servicing saying, yeah, where's the work, right? Dude,
Mm.
I'm going to give you good ideas. Here are some good ideas. Now tell the client to give us some time. We'll always deliver good ideas. So somewhere ideas start solving the problems. If you start focusing on your work, your writing skills or your art skills, whatever your skill is, right? If you start focusing more on that instead of the other things, that will actually start solving your problem, right? Like
Right.
when I spoke to a couple of young people who said, "Oh, we want to join you at fun intended and this and that." I said, you know what? Firstly, it's fun intended. It's not guaranteed, right? First, first is that, right? Secondly, it's not all fun
Mm.
and games. What I mean is not that we are going to have beer and pizza every day. It's that we will work hard, right? We will burn the midnight oil. We will like really spend ourselves, but as long as we are having fun doing it, then it would be the
Right.
ideal thing to do. So it's not always going to be fun and game. But that's what I would
Right.
like. Even when I talk to young people through my copywriting course, I tell them just that. That you need to understand how the business works. You need to understand how advertising works. You need to understand how copywriting or whatever your skill, how that works, right? If you start concentrating on those things, they start actually giving you ideas and insights, and you move forward better. It
Absolutely.
also starts calming down a little bit, calming you down, right? Like I was saying, as a leader, right? If you're leading a team, why I prefer coming up with ideas is for two reasons. One is that if I'm coming up with ideas, my juniors think कि चल कुछ नहीं होगा, right? If we can't crack anything, Ashish will have something, right? He'll have
Yeah.
something. So now the pressure is a little less, right? Second thing is कि
Mm.
if I don't crack an idea, Ashish might crack it, and then we'll have to go ahead with that idea, right? So instead of it being that yeah, just think of something. Na, Ashish will be back in another hour, and we have to sit and tell him what the ideas are. The pressure is not the time. The pressure is the quality of work. Work on yourself. Right? Don't try to work for an agency. Joining an agency is not going to make you creative, right? You have to be creative to join that agency.
Yeah. No, interesting. I mean, I totally sort of agree and resonate with what Ashish has said there, because See, I think that it's a two-way street, right? I mean, there is going to be stress and toxicity in any kind of industry at the end of the day, right? It's there in every industry. So, if you're very self-aware of, as to what is it that you want to do as a creative, right? Or why are you becoming a writer, or why are you becoming an art director, or why you become why photography, right? You had a million other choices. Why are you getting into this? And
Right.
especially you may not even have scholastically learned, right? None of us really go to art school or copy school or whatever it is. Very few of us, right? And then there's this whole echo chamber of everyone's a copywriter, everyone's a ghostwriter, everyone's a content writer today, right? Because it's so easy. All you need is a Wi-Fi connection and a laptop, right? So, um, see, in this scenario, I think you got to, as a young person, you got to ask yourself three very important questions. Very, very important questions. One is that why are you taking this up? Obviously, I mean, so the why will has to be answered saying that do I have the skill set? Do I really believe I have the skill set? Do I have the appetite for this? And do I have the love for this? They're three different things, right? So you have to have some amount of skill which you believe in, the appetite for getting into what you're getting, and the love for it, right? So the why, what should be answered clearly by, are you doing this because you see a career in this, or are you just doing it because your friends are doing it, or are you really doing it for money? Because if it is for money, then go the whole hog. Then
Mm.
talk like you want to talk about leads and freelance and this and that, right? But don't give me that and give me gyan at the same time. There's a difference. So I think
Right.
choose your territory, choose what your reason. Nobody's going to blame you for it, dude. If you are
Mm.
going to be all out like Ori and be unabashedly
Mm.
there for the money, do it like Ori does. He
Mm.
doesn't care a fuck. He says he's doing it for that
Right.
whatever, right? So I'm saying that
Right.
choose your battle, right? Because then if you don't, then it's very easy to say the world is against me, dude. Because you're not
Mm.
set up
Mm.
your clarity in front of the world. Okay.
Mm.
Second, the toxicity debate is always going to be seen from a lens of empathy, right? Because every person is different, and really, it's on a face level, it's very difficult to understand how much pain or how much depression that person is under. And I know I'm very sensitive about these matters with younger people, but I will also put it on record without malice or without any kind of bad blood here that I think pain levels really are diminishing, right? You cannot always be perpetually be in a bleak phase,
Yeah.
or let
Right.
every small thing, every mosquito bite feel like an alligator's bitten you. You can't. There has to be a reason why you're forever complaining. Uh, Creativity is joy at the end of the day. It has to start from joy. If you're getting paid a decent wage and you're enjoying yourself, you're more than
Mm.
halfway into understanding what you are as a creative, right? So
Mm.
if you look at a cricket player, right, a cricket player's peak is 28 to 32. That's when most of the top batsmen are at their peak, whether it's a Tendulkar or Kohli or whoever, right, or Joe Root. There is a reason for that 4-year cycle. There's a similar peak for a creative, for a writer, for a creative director. There are certain ages where you really peak. And the peaking happens not just because you're getting better at your skills and you are at a certain level, but because you can handle other stuff that comes with it, right? The leadership, the handling of the clients, the business side of it. Because today, a lot of creative directors also have to look at business, right? You also
Right.
have to be a PNL of sorts, right?
Mm.
So I
Mm.
think, guys, the young guys should realize that ये overnight नहीं होगा, होता भी नहीं है,
नहीं हो.
right? But
Mm.
define what is that overnight. Sometimes your overnight might take 3 years, sometimes it might take 10, because it's a function of so many things here. Your luck, your
Yeah.
destiny, which
Yeah.
place you entered, what bosses you worked with,
Mm.
what brands you worked on, did you get films or not got films, right? How good were
Mm.
you as a writer? Where did you seize an
Mm.
opportunity? So you can't brush everything under one brush and say, oh, he's unhappy, so everyone's unhappy. यार, नहीं होता ऐसा.
Yeah. Right.
I worked in an unhappy agency where I've seen two creatives who were super happy. And I've seen
Mm.
a really happy agency where I saw one guy who was perpetually crying all the time, right? तो
Right.
होता है ना ऐसा. So that doesn't mean that the entire agency is bad or you are bad or something. It's really boils down to only one thing, self-awareness. It really boils down to this. If you feel that anything is not worth it and it's causing a
Mm.
harm to your state of mind, your self-respect, especially your self-respect, right?
Mm.
And
Mm.
define that self-respect, whatever that self-respect is, whether if you're not being paid properly, if you're being dealt with badly, if you're being molested, sexually abused, whatever is that level, एक लक्ष्मण रेखा जो होती है ना, वो लक्ष्मण रेखा आप डिसाइड करो क्या लक्ष्मण रेखा आपकी. Okay, but you cannot have Lakshman 10 Lakshman rekhas. You cannot have Lakshman rekha 1 feet away and 10 feet away and 40 feet away and 50 feet away. There has to be a very clear give and take, and understand time, understand function, and understand that no category of work can you be a prodigy at all points of time. There are very few prodigies, and those prodigies exist at varying ages, right? And various. So you could be a 6-year-old who wins an Oscar and be completely forgotten for the rest of your life, right? So that doesn't mean that you are not a bad actor or a good actor. It's just that that's destiny. That's destiny. If Irfan had to pass away at 55, he just passed away at 55, right? I mean, he had a 20 good years ahead of him. So I'm saying that, oh,
Yeah, yeah,
destiny hoti hai, you cannot argue with that destiny. You cannot, sort of, you can't judge with it. So my humble request to young people is, guys, just slow down a bit, firstly. Really slow down. Take a moment. वो YouTube पे वो करता है ना वो बंदा slow interview. Go watch a couple of slow interviews. Just spend some time away from the material and the screens, and really spend 2 or 3 days with yourself and ask yourself why, what, how. Right? The moment you define the why, what, how, I'm assuming you will be good enough and mature enough to figure out your way through life.
yeah,
Okay, that's it. I mean, honestly, that it is. But
yeah,
caveat emptor, uh, please don't be in a delusion that you're creative because you can write or you can draw or you can whatever. Okay, ask yourself a very uncomfortable question 1 or 2 years down the line. क्या ये मैं कर सकता हूँ नहीं कर सकता हूँ. Okay, because choose career paths. Career paths are amazing today, right? Don't waste your time in something you're not good at or you're not happy at. One of the two.
yeah. We
That's
didn't
it.
have a choice.
Yeah, we didn't have a choice. Exactly. We didn't have that choice. You have the choice today. You can start your own YouTube channel for God's sake, right? But I still had to take a fast train and go to an agency because that was the only agency that would hire me at that point in time.